Ren from Hallowed Be Thy Game, and today I'm going to share over 60 must-own 3DS games. Let's check it out. Welcome back to a special episode of Hallowed Be Thy Game, and it is with a heavy heart that we draw extremely close to the end of the 3DS eShop. I'm so hopeful that one day it can come back on the NSO or something. But before we get started, if you like the content that you're seeing on this channel, please consider liking and subscribing. It may seem like such a little thing, but it really does help out the channel in massive ways. So thank you so much. But this is a long video today, so make sure you have a drink and a snack, get comfortable, because we're going to be talking all about the 3DS. Today's video is a compilation of everything we've ever covered on the channel for the 3DS. These are the games that I just have resonated with me. I love these games so much. The 3DS has just quickly skyrocketed to my favorite handheld of all time. And I think in a lot of ways, it's Nintendo's last true handheld. It's just a phenomenal console and one that has just won my heart over. And the 3DS is a JRPG hotspot, just phenomenal. Today we're covering everything from JRPGs, RPGs, all the way down to just the crazy eShop only games. But I just wanted to say this is not an exhaustive list. I mean, there's so much to cover. I just want to say if you notice something that's not on this list, please share it. Let this be kind of a gathering place for everyone's top tier recommendations. And I want to ask you all, if you had a friend that was a little tight on funds and they could only pick up one 3DS game, what would be that one game you would recommend to them? I'd love to know down in the comments. Also, I do want to give a word of warning. There are a couple games on here that have already been pulled from the eShop. I want to leave them on here just because they are still available physically, even if they are becoming increasingly rarer. A big one that breaks my heart is the Fates DLC for Fire Emblem. It is pulled off the eShop. Nintendo, what are you doing? But I just want to make you aware. And on top of that, I hear that in some regions, Heroes of Ruin is being pulled as well. But I love these games, so I hope, and no matter which way, whether it be physically or digitally, I hope you're able to get your hands on these games. Sadame. Now, I will say this is the actual definition of a hidden gem, and I think we all need to be reminded of what that is sometimes. So what Sadame does is it takes the power progression and gameplay loop of like Dragon's Crown on the Vita, PS3, and 4, and then melds it with the action-adventure combat of like The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. And you may say to yourself, how could that be bad? Well, you're right. It can't be. This game is friggin' awesome. It's so addictive to play, but it is also, sadly, an eShop exclusive. So, I mean, I'm not your conscience, so if you're not planning on modding or doing anything to your 3DS, this one's going to evaporate away come next year. So do not miss out on Sadame, and you can thank me later. Now, I got another eShop exclusive for you, and it is Gears of War for the 3DS. I'm just kidding. That is not actually a thing. But it was almost a thing with Ironfall Invasion. Yes, I was blown away and baffled. This game is so freaking weird, but in a good way. It's shockingly gorgeous on the 3DS. The 3D effects are utilized very well. And like the quick time reloading and everything, I mean, it's Gears of War on the 3DS. It's good. It's so weird. And this definitely uses the C-stick aiming controls in a very good way. I thought it was really weird because I've honestly never really dived into a game that so heavily leaned on the little C-stick nub that's on the 3DS, the new 3DS models. But it works great. It's fun. It's short. It doesn't overstay its welcome. This is about $10 on the eShop. Hopefully it goes on sale before it happens. Don't be fooled. It says it's a free download. Unfortunately, you definitely have to pay for the campaign and multiplayer, which is so stupid. God, I hate those practices. Anyways, the campaign is fun. It never got too boring. It's just a weird game, and I totally recommend people check it out if you're looking for something very odd to play on the 3DS. Now, next up, I have to recommend Heroes of Ruin. This is a hidden gem that was put on my radar by SEGA Blocks. Huge shout out to him. Check out his channel. But this is just a fun action-adventure game. It's totally worth checking out. It's dirt cheap right now. I don't think any of the the resellers have caught on to this one yet. But I definitely think it's just a fun game to have in your library for a just quick hit-and-run gameplay, fun moments. It's definitely a Diablo clone. It's all around great. Definitely check it out. Now, one game series that has been recommended to me over and over again, and I totally see why, it is absolutely what I'm going to be playing for the rest of the year when I should be playing newer releases, quote unquote should. It's the Etrian Odyssey series. Now, in my research, I have found the Etrian Odyssey 4, 5, and also Nexus are incredible places to start. If you're a big EO fan, let people know what your recommended starting place is down in the comments. But these are difficult to play first-person dungeon crawlers, but they have gorgeous art. It's very fun. Now that I'm just coming off of having beaten Dragon III Code VFD, which is a glorious freaking game. God, I love that game so much. I've really become addicted to the create your own party, create your own story approach to games, and this is definitely one in that line of thinking. But Etrian Odyssey is beloved. Hopefully it's not gone forever as a series, but I'm excited to be diving in and spending the rest of the year playing these. Etrian Odyssey, let people know where to start down in the comments. Now, I got a little bit of a curveball for people who've been watching this channel for a while. You know, I'm a little bit of a cuckoo crazy person fan for JRPGs, so it might be a little odd to you when I say that Kirby Planet Robobot is one of the best freaking games on the 3DS. This puts on the most glorious puffball clinics of the 3D capabilities of the 3DS. It's a gloriously cute, fun adventure where you can hop in a friggin' death robot and just stomp and clone your enemies along the way. This is gaming in its purest form. It's just fun. It's just cute. It's just a great time, and it would suck to miss out on. Kirby Planet Robobot, pick it up. Now, one game I'm excited to dive more into, and I've been recommended by multiple friends that I want to share with you, is Final Fantasy Explorers. This is kind of an action RPG where you can play and have party members from all your favorite Final Fantasy games. This looks fun. It definitely looks weird, and if this evaded my gaze for quite some time, I want to make sure that you know about it. Final Fantasy Explorers, have you played it? Would you recommend it to people? Let me know down in the comments. Now, one of my favorite game reviewers, the Backlog Odyssey, now that incredible duo of reviewers has recommended to me constantly that I need to play Fantasy Life, and so many others have down in the comments. This is a gorgeous, massively open action RPG where you can have essentially so many roles that you can take on. The combat looks cute and fun. It is incredibly addictive from everything that's been told to me. Fantasy Life is one that I am so excited I finally picked up, and I'm just so stoked to be able to play this. For those of you who are Fantasy Life fans, I just want to thank you so much for putting this game on my radar, because I'll be honest, I've looked at this game in the past, and I just kind of brushed it off as like, it's probably not for me, it looks fine. But people have just sworn by this game, and I'm so thankful for its passionate fan base that has just made sure I've given this game some attention. Fantasy Life. Have you played it? What was your favorite character to play as? Let me know in the comments. Now, I got another game for you all to just kind of check out and see a little bit more information on your own, because if you are into the Langrisser series, I know this is kind of a loved or hated entry, but Langrisser Reincarnation Tensei is a game that definitely speaks to me. It looks like a very fun game. I love the art style. The combat and the gameplay, graphically, it's not winning any awards on the 3DS. People that I know and I trust with their JRPG recommendations have definitely put this game on my radar. I'm excited to get to this and give the SRPG genre a little bit more of a try. This is definitely one that I don't see recommended hardly at all. I don't think a lot of people know about this entry, and I know Langrisser fans are very passionate about their games, and this is kind of a controversial entry, but I want to put it on your radar so you can research it more on your own and see if it's something you would be interested in. But if you have played this entry, please let me know what you thought of it down in the comments. Next up, we have Ever Oasis. Now, this is without question the game that just appeals to me in every facet. You have very fun, extremely approachable action RPG combat systems. You have gorgeous art design in the game. It looks iconic. It's very unique. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It is the right length for an action RPG. You could definitely see it slipping under the radar of the more recognizable IPs and heavier juggernauts that the 3DS does have. Now, another game I want to make sure that you all know about, and it is freaking blowing me away right now, is Nano Assault. Oh my god, this game is so good. This is absolutely one of my favorite games to play with the 3D effect on the 3DS. Now, it works just fine with the 3D off if it's something that puts you off. However, if you're into it, this game flexes the muscles so well in terms of 3D. You essentially play as a nano machine that is attacking a deadly virus in a cell colony. So essentially you'll have like these miniature worlds, which are essentially just a cell wall, and you're floating and turning around in like almost a twin stick combat section to clear out a cell colony of just a deadly super virus. What we have going on here is excellent, and then there'll be these boss sections where you have this really intense smush section to just fly and then get to this big, super cool, unique super boss. It's fan-friggin-tastic. Easily one of the best games on the 3DS. I cannot recommend this enough. Blown me away. I hate that I waited so long to play this. And also, if you are a Wii U fan, I know this Nano Assault Neo is supposedly an excellent game, sequel to this on the Wii U. Definitely want to check both of those out. And we also have the Monster Hunter game. You have Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate and also Monster Hunter Generations. I know Generations has a enhanced port to the Switch, so you definitely want to check those games out. Monster Hunter is so hot right now. It is a series that I've been meaning to get into. I've tried it a couple times in the past. It hasn't clicked yet, but I've heard Rise is the game to try. Anyways, Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate and Generations, these games are extremely beloved, and you definitely want to have access to play them in the future. Alright, and just as I begin to wrap up this video, I do want to kind of rapid fire some games that are just obviously you should play this. If it's Zelda in the title on the 3DS, you should play it. The Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga series, I've heard nothing but glorious things about those. You definitely want to check them out. And then also, definitely want to remember Mario 3D Land. It's great. The Luigi's Mansions games, they're great. These are just games that are just obvious picks, but the most obvious JRPG that has been missing from these lists, and it is probably a sin against video game kind, is the Bravely Default games. I know these are extremely beloved games. I know I'm missing out. I need to change that. I do, but there's so many games. We only have so much time. I know the Bravely Default games are some of the most beloved graphical powerhouses, fun combat, iconic characters. And they have really fun job class systems. I know they're great, and I want to make sure that for viewers of the channel, you should know about the Bravely Default games, Bravely Default 1 and Bravely 2nd. You definitely want to check them out. The prices are creeping up a little bit, and I'm afraid that by this time next year, probably everything on this list is just going to be stupid price because I'm dreading to see what happens to the landscape. Lord of Magna, Made in Heaven. Okay, hear me out. This is a harem SRPG, but it's really fun and unique. Now, this is a very surprising game to me because it has gorgeous animations with the character panels, but I will admit it's a little muted in terms of the graphical fidelity of the game itself. However, what it lacks in just the awe power of character models in the game, it makes up for in just some really friggin' fun and addicting gameplay. The best way that I can describe this game, imagine Fire Emblem, but with physics-based bowling. Okay, I know that sounds weird, but seriously, what you do is you just get on the battlefield and you have your maidens and you just essentially go out and you bowl. You just blast characters, knock down hordes and hordes of enemies. There are some definite lighthearted moments here. If you're looking for a hardcore, intense JRPG in terms of story and character development, I will say this game definitely leans heavily into anime tropes. It's a lot of fun, and honestly, if you're looking for the weird, the random, and you're like me, this definitely hits that itch. And for anyone out there who's played it, please let everyone know what you thought of it down in the comments, because it's blowing my mind because I don't hear a lot of people talking about this game. Lord of Magna, check it out. Now for the next game on today's list, it absolutely does not get as much love and attention as it deserves, and that is Kid Icarus Uprising. Now I know this game is kind of memed on a lot for being kind of difficult to hold and control, but to be honest, after playing Liberation Maiden and that game blowing me away, I was like, what the heck, let's try Kid Icarus, and it friggin' rocks. Oh my god, you have just this glorious, just adrenaline fueled air combat. You're down on the ground, it's wild, it's crazy, it's unique, and it's honestly a goated 3DS game. This is the 3DS flexing its glorious 3D muscles, and let me tell you what, that sucker didn't skip leg day. This is just a phenomenal action-adventure game. It's fun, it's cute, it's loaded to the brim with personality, and it's just an iconic series back in full force. And it is just honestly one of those NES franchises that just deserve to come back, but in such a unique way. It's just such an amazing mashup of just aerial combat with action-adventure gameplay. Totally recommend it. Kid Icarus Uprising. Don't miss out. Now for my third game on my list, this is absolutely and shockingly the most recommended game to me on the 3DS. Stella Glow. And I absolutely see why. I slept on this game too long. Don't be like me. Check out Stella Glow. You have this SRPG combat, and it is sadly the last game from this developer. They absolutely crushed it. It's a beautiful send-off, and it is what I would consider a must-own on the 3DS. A lot of anime fun happening here with the characters and the story. You have these really awesome character models. You have very fun strategic gameplay. You just can't kind of plow your way through this game. There's definitely some thought that's involved, but it's extremely approachable. This is a joy to play, and I would tell anyone who considers themselves a fan of the SRPG genre, if you're into like Fire Emblem, or let's even say the Devil Survivor games, do not miss out on Stella Glow. This is a once-in-a-lifetime game because this is not going to be ported. I don't see this being ported in any way, shape, or form. This is going to be a 3DS experience, and with the eShop closing, don't miss out on Stella Glow. Now, next up, I have the Yokai series for you. That's Yokai Watch 1, and then you also have Yokai Watch 2, which has 3 entries, kind of similar to you would see in like Pokemon Yellow, Red, and Blue, with Bony Spirits, Fleshy Souls, and Psychic Specters, and then the ever-elusive Yokai Watch 3. Now, I mentioned the entire series because these are all extremely beloved. I have literally never ran into somebody who hates the Yokai Watch games, but now that I've said it, I'm sure somebody out there will let me know. But these are just gorgeous, extremely charming games. Friends that I know and trust and are major fans of this game have told me this is one of their favorite gaming series, and I absolutely can see why. Gorgeous on the 3DS. Any Yokai Watch fans watching this, please let everyone know what you think of the series and which one's your favorite down in the comments. Now, keeping up with the cute collectathons, I have one that was just recently put on my radar. Huge shout out to Bad Company down in the comments, and that is Moco Friends. I just picked this up, and holy moly, this is an overdose of cute, but it's fun and addictive. Really, this is right up my alley. It is cute, it's weird, it's off the wall, but it's also a quality game. Here, instead of Pokemon or Yokai, you're going to be collecting plushies. You get to do all those fun things that are entailing that, but you just have a cute world aesthetic, a charming set of characters, fun, serviceable combat that is just approachable to all. This is definitely a great place, I think, for new JRPG fans to hop in. This is absolutely skyrocketing in price physically, but it is definitely one to be looking out for and picking up. If you're looking for something a little bit off of the beaten path, definitely check out Moco Friends. Now, next up on today's list, I have Little Battler's Experience, or LBX for short. This is shockingly good, and it is a game that I unfortunately overlooked for quite some time because I didn't really think it was for me, but I want to go out on a limb here and see if there's any Daemon X Machinas fans on the Switch in the comments. I highly doubt you're out there, but I freaking love that game. I love the mech building, action-based combat simulator, outloading your mech. It's just friggin' fun. This game plays excellent. The combat, the story, it's all, it is a little childish. However, it is extremely engaging and has some shockingly more mature tones as you get later on in the game. It's wildly fun. It plays excellent. The combat and progression systems are addictive. This is legitimately flying under the radar. LBX is totally quality. I cannot sing its praises enough. And if you're a fan of this, please help me out down in the comments and help me sell people on this game. Alright, and next up on today's list, I have Codename Steam. What this game does is essentially take a Valkyria Chronicles 4 experience and gives it to you on the 3DS. Now, I haven't tested this yet, but you are actually able to take a Fire Emblem amiibo and inject it into the game. So if you don't immediately like the aesthetic of some of the characters, you might want to give this game a little bit more of a look. Ultra unique game. You have very quality tactics-based combat. You definitely have a lot of fun to be had here. This is extremely affordable on both the eShop and physically at the time of recording this. I'm not intentionally trying to spike anything here, but this game is completely unwanted by most people, it seems. And that is a crime against nature. Codename Steam is phenomenal. It's a wonderful, cute experience. Most everyone I talk to has played this game will tell you the same thing. It's just a fun, awesome, epic experience. It's a quality game. It's well made. It totally has flown under the radar and definitely worth your time. Codename Steam, check it out. Now for my 13th game, I have a little bit of a wild card for you with Legend of Legacy. Legend of Legacy on the 3DS is definitely kind of hit and miss with the community at large. I find this to be a quality JRPG to play. I love the graphics in this game. I love the character models in this game. Is the story lacking? Sure. Is it the most engaging character progression system? Not necessarily. It's not my favorite progression system, but it is fun. I love exploring this game. It looks gorgeous on the Switch, and if you're looking for something different, if you've had a ton of fun with the Bravely Default games, you've had a ton of fun with maybe Alliance Alive, and you're looking for something more, I would give Legend of Legacy a shot. I think it's worth trying. It's still relatively affordable physically at this moment, and it's definitely worth checking out if you're looking for some more JRPGs on the 3DS. Legend of Legacy, have you played it? Let everybody know what you thought of it down in the comments. Now for my last game on today's list, I have saved an extremely weird and unique game for you, and that is Culdcept Revolt. I hardly ever hear anyone talk about this game. And essentially, to describe this game, the best way I can do it is take Monopoly and then mesh it with Baten Kaitos from like the GameCube. It is essentially a card-based Monopoly type JRPG with gorgeous character designs. It has a lot of fun combat systems here. Now, fights can take a long time, so this is for a very unique JRPG fan. If you're looking for a JRPG to just kind of plant your roots down in, and just to dive in, maybe you can get some other friends to pick this up and play against each other. This is definitely a game that presents a unique combat system, but with this you're going to have some great music. I personally really like the story and the graphics in this game. It's just an extremely unique experience, and I'm always looking for that. I'm always loving kind of that weird, different type of game. And as a major fan of the 3DS is just such an ultra unique handheld. It's something that will never really be able to emulate the form factor experience of holding that clamshell, seeing the 3D. Anyways, Culdcept Revolt is totally worth being in any JRPG fan's catalog of games. It's definitely worth trying and playing. I had a lot of fun with it, but I will admit this is definitely going to be for a little more niche of a crowd. This was my first introduction to the Culdcept series. I haven't played any of the other entries. This is my first foray into it, but I've had a lot of fun with it. But Culdcept Revolt for the 3DS, definitely check it out if you're looking for something quality and unique. Crimson Shroud, and this is digital only.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Crimson Shroud. You were telling me about it. We looked at a couple videos. Looked pretty cool.
But it is something that could be potentially going away permanently. Now, this is a D&D mashup. It is a very gorgeous art style, and there's some extremely unique developers that worked on this, like with the Final Fantasy XII developer hopped in on this, and also Level 5. They have another game on today's list. But this is something that you definitely don't want to miss out on, and with it being digital only, I do fear that this is going to be lost to time once the 3DS eShop closes.
Is this a Japanese RPG kind of game?
Yes, this is definitely pure JRPG through and through. And
Very
I
cool.
think it did have a physical release out in Japan. Not entirely sure on that, though. And the next game on today's list is Liberation Maiden, and this is another digital-only game that is on the 3DS eShop. And I do fear, once again, this is going to be lost forever, because this is a really interesting shooter, and I believe also the No More Heroes developer worked on this.
Was it Suda 51?
Yes, okay, yeah.
Grasshopper Manufacturing.
This has an extremely beautiful aesthetic to it. The gameplay is very solid and smooth on the 3DS. It's fantastic looking, and honestly, if you are at all interested in the shooter genre, this is one not to miss out on. Liberation Maiden, check it out. Next up is 7th Dragon 3 Code VFD. This is another beautiful RPG that was put on my radar by Food for Dogs. This is a dungeon crawling RPG, but it has a really unique, beautiful aesthetic.
The art style in this game looks great. I love the way this looks.
Yeah, there is smooth combat. It's genuinely a hidden gem. Everyone that I trust that's played this game loves it. This is absolutely at the top of my list of games to pick up. You guys would love as well. 7th Dragon 3 Code VFD. I'm picking it up. Check out more reviews on it, but let me know what you think of it down in the comments. Now, Metroid Samus Returns. Have you played this?
I have not played Samus Returns.
Oh my god. Okay, Samus Returns is honestly, ignore all the hate culture about this. This game was kind of memed into the ground for me because I heard it was just kind of a hot trash game. And obviously everybody loves another Metroid 2 remake, which is kind of a fan-made thing. However, don't let kind of the hate bait culture ruin trying Samus Returns. This definitely introduced a lot of the mechanics that Dread perfected on the Switch. But the counter mechanic is excellent and smooth. It is weighted kind of weird in the beginning to where you feel like you're forcing yourself to using the counter mechanic. But by the end of the game, the combat is smooth and fluid. It looks gorgeous on the 3DS. And the 3D effects here, if it's something that you're into, work exceptionally well. It kind of puts on a clinic for the 3DS's capabilities. But it was beautiful, a little hard. I will say the final boss, the final secret boss of Samus Returns is not easy. However, it is definitely a must play. I loved it, and I think any Metroid fan should not miss out on what is an extremely unique experience in the entire series.
I remember this coming out hot on the heels of another Metroid 2 remake, and people naturally compared it to that, and there was a lot of, that's 2D, this is classic, this is 3D, I don't like it. And there was just a lot of kind of internet infighting about them. I unfortunately haven't tried Samus Returns yet. I need to get on that.
Yeah,
love Metroid.
Yeah, and I think it's something that they can both exist because they both seek different objectives and goals, and I think they both excel at their respective goals. They're definitely both worth picking up.
Fantastic.
Objection!
Now, next up, we have a couple of games for you. Actually, 3 games. Phoenix Wright Dual Destinies, Phoenix Wright Spirit of Justice, and also Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney.
Yeah, Phoenix Wright Dual Destinies, Spirit of Justice came out. They were digital only, both of them. The physical releases of the DS versions didn't sell too great in America, but at least we got some translations over here for eShop exclusives. Again, we're going to be losing those with the closure of the store. They also had some DLC. I believe Dual Destinies had a whole case only as DLC on the eShop store. I'm not so sure about Spirit of Justice. It had some costumes, which was kind of weird to me. I loved these games. I'm a big Phoenix Wright fan. The music is great. The character models I liked a lot. I enjoyed the new characters. Something worth checking out. Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright was a physical release, however. It came out, it was a kind of half, if you've ever played the Professor Layton, you kind of spent half of the game doing those word brain puzzles, and then they would transition into the Phoenix Wright court case sequences. I really enjoyed the dynamic. I think any fan of Professor Layton and or Phoenix Wright would really get a lot of enjoyment out of this. Maybe see what the other side had to offer if they never experienced one or the other. It was a neat game. Had great music.
Yeah, honestly, these are really fascinating. I need to get back into the Phoenix Wright series, but again, for everyone, DLC is something that is going to be imperative to pick up while it is still available on the eShop.
Absolutely.
And the next game and kind of series of games we're going to be sharing with you is Picross 3D.
There are a myriad of Picross games. I don't know if you have ever played any
I
of
haven't.
them.
This is completely new to me.
Very enjoyable, casual puzzle games. They've been a Nintendo franchise in Japan since the Game Boy, and they've really persisted since, to this day. Seems like every year they release a new one for now the Switch. I've played several of them. I believe Picross 3D was the only physical release for the 3DS, but there's approximately 10-ish that was put on digital only. There were some Pokemon spin-off Picross games that were also eShop only. Some of the stuff is going to go away, but it's a very casual game. You would really enjoy it. It's a great game to fall asleep to.
Yeah,
I don't mean that as they're boring. They're just very chill.
Fantastic. How about you all? Have you played any of the Picross games? Which one would you recommend? Let us know down in the comments. Rhythm Heaven Megamix.
This is another one that's only going to be on the digital store. We're going to miss out on it here in about, what, a year?
Oh, wow. Yes, yeah. Less than a year at this point.
Goodness. If you've never played Rhythm Heaven, I'm a huge fan of rhythm games. Love them. This game is you're tapping on the bottom screen of your DS or 3DS, whichever Rhythm Heaven you're playing, and it is hard as nails rhythm game. Hard as nails, but they are so fun, so full of personality. Everyone knows the 3 classroom guys. They're just really fun. They're really goofy, but boy, are they tough.
It makes me really miss Elite Beat Agents.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
I miss EBA so much.
The DS killer.
Absolutely.
Next up, there is kind of a compilation that I think you should be aware is the 3DS Classics lineup, especially the Sega Ages.
Yeah, there was not very many Nintendo-supported games of these 3D. Yeah, you would think Nintendo would have been all over this, but Sega really did a lot of the legwork on this concept they had. What they did is they ported over some Sega Genesis, some Sega Master System, and NES games to the 3DS, and they added that 3D effect to all of them.
And what's really cool here is there are some heavy hitters. You got Streets of Rage 2, Kid Icarus, Shinobi 3, Sonic Hedgehog 1 and 2. I mean, this is kind of a playland going on right now.
Absolutely. I don't know what, maybe they weren't very successful. They weren't expensive. I believe Excitebike came out to kind of promote the lineup. It was free for a little bit. I think they charged $3 for Streets of Rage 2. I don't know the general pricing, but there was never any type of 3D release outside of the 3DS eShop, and we'll absolutely lose these and the device they're on when the eShop closes.
Right, and the 3DS is such a great place to play some of these old retro classic games.
And you'll never be able to replicate the feeling of a clamshell DS, 3DS as time goes on.
We need more clamshell back. Switch 2 better have a clamshell.
I agree.
Alright, Azure Striker Gunvolt. I freaking love this game and series. I got into it on the Switch. However, it is on the 3DS, and if you only have access to it on the 3DS, this is definitely a great place to play it. If you are a Mega Man fan, you need to be playing the Azure Striker Gunvolt series.
I've never played the Azure Striker games. Are all of them of the Mega Man ilk?
Yeah, and they have kind of new mechanics and stuff. There is definitely some unique combat systems here with kind of the shooting, jumping, floating mechanics, but honestly, it is really well tuned. You have iconic looking characters, a serviceable story. It's definitely got that Mega Man feel to it, but it is a great experience, and the 3DS version runs great, and it's absolutely worth picking up. Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. Now, this is an extremely beloved series, and the 3DS version is excellent to play. I love the presentation with the dual screens, but honestly, when it comes to action platformers, this is definitely an extremely beloved series for a reason. There are very dedicated fans. You have absurdly iconic characters. I think even if you've never even played the games, you would immediately be able to recognize Shantae. But honestly, picking this up on the 3DS, it's a glorious experience. I have played this on the Switch, but I'm honestly thinking about picking it up on the 3DS just because I really love that dual screen layout.
I never played any of the Shantae games. They've been recommended to me numerous times since, I believe, the Game Boy Color, and I just haven't gotten to them.
Yeah, our friend Iron Ice is a huge fan of these games.
Do you think this is a great place to start?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I think all of them are great entry points into this, which means it's doubly so for this 3DS version.
Excellent.
I think you would definitely not be wasting your money, and even though probably picking this up physically is absurdly, ludicrously priced, picking up digitally is the way to go. And to wrap up today's video, we do kind of want to just give a big honorable mention to every game in this list, and also in the previous games list is DLC. Do not forget to pick up DLC from the eShop, because once it closes, even if you own the game physically, and even if on the home screen of some of these games it says go to the eShop and pick up DLC, it's going away. So we're expecting all of those functions to be null and nil. So if you're a big Smash Brothers fan on the 3DS, don't forget about the DLC. The Nintendo 3DS is surprisingly a glorious destination for JRPGs and RPGs. Not often seen that way. So in today's episode, I want to go ahead and just kind of narrow it down to the top games that I think you should own if you're a fan of JRPGs before the stores close. Let everyone know down in the comments what games are must-owns for you. Now to start off this list, we have Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner Soul Hackers. This is an exclusive port to the 3DS, the localization. The original game came out on the Saturn, I believe, and I'm going to tell you, for me personally, this is the best game in the SMT series and the Persona series that happens before the press turn battle system was implemented. I think it is a retro game. It has a lot of incredible early internet charm to it. The soundtrack is banging. The characters like Nemissa and all the members of Spookies, I love them. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with this. And I think that even though the combat is a little archaic, it's still enjoyable today. So I highly recommend picking this one up. And I really think you're not going to go wrong with picking up any Fire Emblem that's on the 3DS. And that's going to be, Fire Emblem Fates, Conquest, and Birthright, Fire Emblem Echoes. But I really recommend, if you can only pick up one and you're new to the series, definitely pick up Awakening. You're going to hear a lot of different opinions on that, but for me, who got into the series with Fire Emblem Three Houses, and I wouldn't really call myself an SRPG connoisseur, I think Awakening is a great entry point to the pre-Three Houses era. Obviously, like Shadows of Valencia is great. Conquest, you just have these wild, incredible characters and great combat. I really believe, though, that with Awakening, you're going to have iconic characters, emotional story in all of them. There's a lot of high stakes in all of these games, but the combat really just kind of came into a new zone with Awakening that I feel like just really hit notes for a lot of people. Now, coming in next, we have Project X Zone 1 and 2. I think these games are easily missable, but if I believe right now, these are actually still decently affordable physically as well. But they have a really fun combat system, and it's designed by Monolith Soft. Now, if you've heard me in the past, whether it be on Twitter or live streams, talk about Super Robot Tyson, OG Saga, Endless Frontier for the DS, you will know how cuckoo bananas I am for that game. And if you like that game, or you're interested by that game, definitely check out Project X Zone 1 and 2. The combat is really unique. And again, it's just a fun, like, kind of fan fiction game. I mean, yeah, it's silly, but it's just really good fun. And it's a very good game to have handheld. Definitely check these two out. Another random game for a lot of people that has actually been ported to Switch is Code of Princess. This is a really fun RPG. It's kind of a side-scrolling brawler, very unique. I've never played another like side-scrolling beat-em-up like this one before. The characters are over the top. Yeah, you're definitely gonna have some fan fiction, but really it's a fun time, and it's really not that hard. Once the game clicks with you, you're really gonna just kind of chug along. And I think it's fun. And if you're interested in this, the Switch port for it looks just fantastic. I mean, it looks better. If you could only choose one over the other, yeah, you probably want to pick it up on Switch. Physical copies of this one are going up. However, if you can pick this up digitally, I don't think you're going to be wasting your money. Now, I got two games back to back that are actually ports of very famous games that run shockingly well on the Switch. And the first one is Xenoblade Chronicles. The 3DS version is unimaginably good. I mean, it has no right. Now, I do need to preface this. You do need a new Nintendo 3DS XL, the biggest model, whatever, for memory and stuff like that to run this. But really, yeah, it takes a graphical hit, but it's there. And it really was my first introduction into like the Xenoblade games. I didn't beat Xenoblade first on this. That would definitely still be when I got it on the Switch, but it's really kind of an interesting part of gaming history. It plays really well, and I recommend it. If you have access to this, definitely pick it up and try it out. And also, Dragon Quest VIII. This port is unbelievably good. Funny enough, the first time I actually got to really play and experience Dragon Quest VIII was on the 3DS, and it runs beautifully. The graphics, it handles great. Once you kind of get used to the L and R button movements and such like that to move the camera, it just clicks. Gorgeous cast of characters. Honestly, some of the most iconic characters in all of JRPGs are in Dragon Quest VIII. It's got that tried and true battle system. And the story is just a beautiful tale. It just kind of gives you that childlike wonder. It makes you feel like a kid again. And you get to just laugh and have a great time with a super classic JRPG on mobile. And that to me is just incredible. You just get cozied up on the couch and you're playing history, it's just a blast. It holds up really well. Don't miss out on Dragon Quest VIII on the 3DS. Now, you all know I am a Persona fanatic, so I definitely have to mention Persona Q 1 and 2. Now, if you are new to these games, I do want to preface this. These are first-person dungeon crawlers. However, they're some of the most enjoyable that you're going to have. I mean, if you've tried dungeon crawlers before and they haven't really clicked with you, you know, I would look at more gameplay footage of this, but I think you're not going to go wrong in picking these up. I mean, there's Persona Q 2, I believe is the last official release 3DS game. I could be wrong on that. Let me know in the comments. But they just look great. The characters, the charms, all there. Again, it's like a fan fiction mashup. You know, the first one has Persona 3 and 4 characters together, and then the last one, they throw in Persona 5. I wonder if they're going to do another one of these for Persona 6. What about you? Have you played the Persona Q games? Let me know what you think down in the comments. Now, in my opinion, if you're only willing to give one first-person dungeon crawler a chance, then it has to be Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey Redux on the 3DS. Now, I know some people get a little antsy when people throw in these lists, games that originally came out on the DS or their ports or remakes. In my humble opinion, the 3DS ports and remakes are god tier. And I think it would be a disservice to just ignore them because of that. And for me personally, I got into the 3DS kind of, I want to say 2016 or 17. And really, I would be kicking myself if I didn't pick up these. So for me personally, I did get into the 3DS kind of late. I didn't go crazy nuts collecting for it. But the Persona and SMT games and the JRPGs on the 3DS, it gets overlooked quite a bit. You know, what it lacks in this giant library of JRPGs, it makes up for in stellar quality. And Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey, in my opinion, is the best SMT storyline, bar none. I consider it a horror game that's a first-person, turn-based game. It's really quite an experience. The story is haunting. The situations are unnerving. The added voice acting, it is Japanese with English subtitles. The soundtrack, I love. A lot of people call it repetitive or whatnot. I just consider it to have grand orchestrated songs that just really hit hard. And again, the dialogue and interactions between all the characters feels very real and visceral. This is not a cutesy JRPG. You're not going to get any fan, service in here unless you have a weird attachment to certain demon party members. However, don't miss out on Strange Journey Redux. Definitely pick this one up digitally if you can. And if you are open to first-person dungeon crawlers, I feel the difficulty options in this game make it approachable to newer fans of the games. I think it's without a doubt the hardest turn-based game I've ever played, and the true end boss of the Redux added storyline is pretty viciously hard, but that's totally optional. You don't even have to do that. But really, just don't sleep on Strange Journey. Now, keeping in line with the SMT universe, I mentioned before I'm not the biggest into the SRPG genre. However, Devil Survivor 1 Overclocked and Devil Survivor 2 Record Breaker are without question my top 2 favorite SRPGs ever made. These are unimaginably good. They have no right to be as good as they are. It is the perfect blend between the press turn battle system and strategic tactics-based combat. You're going to have different demon abilities that you're going to be able to mesh together. You have these high stakes that if you don't make the right decisions, your party members will die. I mean, the stakes are high. The story is mature and on point. There are moments of levity sprinkled throughout the first game. And, the second one is definitely closer to probably a Persona game in its character design and storytelling than the others, but they're still extremely dark, both of them. And I love these games. I think the graphics, the sprite work is just bar to none. I love these games. I cannot recommend these enough. And if you're a fan of SRPGs, definitely check them out. And if you're new to SRPGs and just kind of a little intimidated by these massive tactics-based stuff, if I can beat these games, you can. And I highly recommend giving them a go if you're interested. If you think, hey man, these characters look great, The storyline looks really interesting to me. Don't be too off-put by it. You know, a lot of the community can really hype up the difficulty of these games, and while they are difficult, there is a wealth of knowledge online to be able to help you surmount any walls you might come across. So definitely give Devil Survivor 1 and 2 a shot. Then we come to the last 3 games that I want to recommend. And I think if you are a fan of turn-based JRPGs, Shin Megami Tensei 4 is one of the most refined, glorious gaming experiences ever. SMT 4 is a work of art. The characters are well made. In my opinion, it is still by far and away the best SMT game. I loved 5, but SMT 4 just really crushes it with its storyline and characters. The voice acting in English is even on point. The balancing of the game isn't as good as like SMT 5 or even its highly controversial sequel, but it's still an incredible game. SMT 4 is definitely an eerie video game, and I just believe that if you are someone who is open to a mature JRPG, really look no further than SMT 4. I consider it to be arguably the best game on the 3DS. Now, SMT IV Apocalypse is its highly controversial sequel. You're going to hear a lot of hate bait on this one. I just want to say this. SMT IV Apocalypse, I believe, is a great game. It's just not a good sequel to 4. The characters are definitely more lighthearted and lean harder into anime tropes than should be allowed in the SMT games. However, the balancing to combat is honestly nigh perfect. Choosing routes is much easier in this game. It's borderline simplified, almost too much. It's really a great entry point difficulty-wise into the series, but again, it is not what people would consider the truest in tone and in delivery for its story. But in terms of gameplay, exploration, and combat, SMT IV Apocalypse slaps, and it slaps hard. And I'm sure I triggered somebody in the comments, but hey, check it out for yourself, and let me know what you think. But for people out there who are curious if they could only pick up one video game for the 3DS, if you have things going on and you only want to shell out enough cash for one video game, there can be only one that I can recommend, and that is Radiant Historia Perfect Chronology for the 3DS. Yes, I know this is a port of a DS game, however, it expands and refines so much to this. It is the definitive way to experience it. I know some people got upset by the character portrait changes that Atlus did. I definitely don't like a lot of Atlus's DLC additions they bring to any of their games. However, Perfect Chronology is one of my favorite stories in all of gaming. It's in my top 5 favorite games of all time. The cast is impeccable. Their character arcs gripping and just emotionally devastating at times. I was moved. I was enthralled by this story from start to finish. The combat is unique. It is fun and addictive. Really, there's just no way around it. I think Radiant Historia is a must-play for anyone who says they are a fan of the JRPG genre. Stock is my favorite hero in all of JRPGs. The cast and crew for this are just lovable. I care about each and every one of them. The story is very mature, and it's a story that deals with time travel, but it's handled in the most brilliant way I've ever seen in a video game. It's one of those games that has a bunch of multiple different endings. However, you're able to access story routes from just about anywhere in the game. It's really a joy to experience. This is one of those games to where you're not going to feel obligated to look up a guide. However, it does provide a great challenge. It's very approachable. Great difficulty setting and sliders for those who are looking for a harder challenge or maybe a little bit more of a casual playthrough. It's the real deal. It really flew under the radar for a lot of people, and it just about did for me too. I picked it up on a whim when it came out, and really one of the best decisions I've ever made in gaming. Do not miss out on Radiant Historia. Well, there you have it. There's over 60 must-own games for the 3DS. Again, thank you all so much for all the support over the past couple years as we've talked about the 3DS. It is genuinely just one of my favorite gaming handhelds of all time. I want to thank you all for all the support over the past couple years as we've talked about the 3DS. It really has meant a lot to me. The 3DS is where I got into the SMT games. It's kind of where I found my deep love and appreciation for JRPGs again, and I'll always feel a kinship with it that I just don't know if I could replicate elsewhere. But I would love to know, when did you get into the 3DS? Were you there from day one, or were you kind of a latecomer to the handheld? But either way, I want to thank you all so much again for watching, especially the channel members and supporters. Again, your support just really helps this channel keep going. So I want to thank you so much again. Like this video if you liked it, and please consider subscribing for more DS discussions, 3DS discussions. We can't let this go out. You know, it may be officially closing for Nintendo, but we'll always keep the love of the 3DS alive on the channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.